and I'd like to ask Jim Ellenberger, our former president, to pick up on what he discussed earlier in our meeting. Jim?
Thank you, Tony. In the past, we have, as an association, made donations for various purposes. And my recollection may be a little hazy, but I think we have donated to political efforts. And I think, given our financial health, that it might be appropriate for us, particularly at this juncture where the race in Georgia is really going to be crucial for the future of all of us, to make a donation. And in my personal view, and I've made personal contributions already, my suggestion would be to make it through Stacey Abrams' organization, Fair Fight. Stacey, as some of you may recall, was introduced by Lane Kirkland on the stage on the Mall in Washington, D.C. At the March on Washington back, I don't know, in the late 80s, I guess. She was very young and active in Frontlash, and she was terrific. And she is still terrific. And she has been crucial to the campaigns in Georgia and crucial to Joe Biden winning that state. So if it's the pleasure of our organization, I would recommend, I'd make a motion that we make a contribution, and I think it should be substantial, at least $1,000, to Fair Fight, the Stacey Abrams organization in Georgia.
Second.
Okay, so Jim Ellenberger has moved and David Cohen has seconded. Let me suggest an amount. Why don't we authorize the officers to calculate how much we would have spent on the annual meeting, the catering bill, et cetera, and come up with that equivalent amount as a donation to Fair Fight.
Tony, I will accept that as a amendment to my motion and urge that we move rapidly.
Thank you. Any comments, discussion on this motion? I don't see any hands raised. Up, Leslie? Unmute.
So how will we know what the amount turns out to be? What is the mechanics by which that will happen and how soon it will happen? Because it seems like time is of the essence.
Well, I think we can make that calculation just in the next, by tomorrow, frankly. We do have the treasurer's report. I'm sorry that those of you who do not receive your newsletter by email haven't received the hard copy yet. But those of you who did get an email copy, you could take a look at it and you can get a rough estimate. So for example, the catering alone was over $3,000. So I think it does get in that range that Brother Ellenberger was suggesting. Make sense?
Well, that would be fantastic. And then, you know, I had stuck at 1,500 in the chat, but more than 1,000. I mean, as much as we can safely do seems like it would be wise. How will we be notified as to what, can we get an email about?
Sure, as soon as we make the donation, I can send it out by email as part of a regular newsletter distribution. Do I get anyone here who's attending this meeting so far who wants to drive it down to Georgia? Okay. We do have 7 members of our association that live in Georgia, and there's no question that if you know any of them, you should be hounding them in particular. So, any further comments or discussion of the motion? So, Jim, you want to just repeat the motion again as it's been amended?
The motion as amended is for the AFLCIO Retirees Association upon examining previous expenses related to the
Annual meeting.
annual meeting, to make a donation to Fair Fight, the organization that's run by Stacey Abrams, for the specific purpose of the runoff election for the United States Senate, the 2 seats in Georgia.
Great. Okay, so we ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Gee, my screen's gone blank. Okay, the motion has passed. Thank you very much. Let's see, I think that we've got just 2 more, well, actually, one thing we've done at our annual meeting is to remember our brothers and sisters who have passed since our last meeting. And I'd like to ask our treasurer, Cheryl Lee, to read the brothers and sisters who were members of the association who passed. And then I'll ask Michelle to read other co-workers who are not members of the association, but who also we've learned have passed since our last meeting. So Cheryl?
Yes. The following sisters and brothers who belong to our association have died since our 2019 association meeting. Delbert Adams, Casper Alisi Jr., John Separo, Darlene Densmo, Elizabeth Betty Hebb, Mary Hollowell, Anna James, Rosemary Keene, Barbara Kelly, Jacqueline Kinzel, Kathleen Claudette Lewis, Gloria Litz, and Dolores Nowakowski. Tony.
Thank you. So let's have a moment of silence for them. Then our Vice President, Michelle, you want to read other co-workers that we had heard had died since our last meeting?
The following sisters and brothers who have died since our 2019 association meeting: Elizabeth Bennett, Brit Ann Brennan, Edgar, Phyllis Caruso, Edward Clark, Marion Davis, Diana Dow, Hazel Haney, John Konovich, Lorraine Lenhart, Eugene Morrill, Amy Morris, Clara Regg, Harlow Rezeberg, Scott Reynolds, Larry Sanders, Richard Seelmeyer, Christine Schultz, Faye Sosby, Marjorie Stanley, Shirley Stevens, Sharon Weaver, and Dolores Williams.
Thank you, Michelle. We will, the next issue of the newsletter will list all these names so you can recall our lost brothers and sisters. In addition, just as you can imagine, a number of our members have lost siblings and children. Marge Tracy lost a brother recently. Claretha Hill lost a son, and Teresa Ball lost a daughter. And there are plenty of others that we have worked with out in the field who do not work directly for any of the participating employers. One in particular that we've mentioned is Brother Jim Murray, who's the long officer of the Montana State AFLCIO. Many of us were lucky to have worked with Brother Murray. Quite a memory. There's we could spend an entire meeting sharing stories about Jim. So just another moment of silence for all these brothers and sisters that have passed. So with that, I think we have reached the conclusion of this meeting. We'll be sending out newsletter, electronic newsletter to follow up with the motion that was passed. We'll act on that quickly to make sure the money gets to Georgia so it can help make the difference. We will, I think, look into having another virtual meeting, so take care of some business such as that bylaws amendment, technical amendment that we need to make to our current bylaws. We will line up representatives from the Guild and Local 2 and our healthcare providers. So if you have questions, that may be a meeting you might want to join. I think this meeting went pretty well. I'm shocked that we were able to handle it with in terms of some input. It wasn't just watching TV or something. Yes, Rudy.
I would urge that each person who is on introduce themselves for 1 minute for us to see them on the full screen.
Okay, I think, yeah, that's it. We were going to carry on with a social hour. I'm sorry you have to bring your own beer for this. That money is going to go to a good cause, as you can imagine. So why don't we formally adjourn and then have a social hour in which we could introduce ourselves. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, raise your hands, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Great. Well, we got over 60 hardcore members who attended. That we had a peak of about 75 people. So this has been, I think, a wonderful meeting. So why don't we quickly go through and introduce ourselves. Now, this does get to be a tricky part of not speaking on top of each other. So why don't we have Marge, why don't the officers go first? Marge, as our treasurer.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Marge. Former president and an assistant to Tony Sarmiento in all I can ever do.
He needs a lot of help. Okay, and then we have our vice president, Michelle Sharon.
Michelle Sharon became vice president this past year.
Our treasurer, Cheryl.
Charlene, 2 years as recording secretary, and I'm going into my 6th and final year as your association treasurer.
So we will be looking for some new officers next year. And let's see, former officer Paul Gordon. Unmute.
I unmuted you. Do you have a position there?
Are you there, Paul? Francisco, Paul, we'll get back to you. Francisco, I saw you just came on screen. You're unmuted. Oh, there's Paul.
Yeah, I'm Paul Gordon, and I'm just baffled and amazed by Zoom and have no idea what to do with it.
Thank you. And the great chair of our nominations committee, Markley Roberts. Unmute, Markley. Up, Markley.
I think if people press down on their space bars and hold the space bar down.
Very good.
Greetings to everyone from Markley Roberts.
Thank you, Markley. David Cohen, you've taught us something important. When you're introduced, you just need to press the space bar and you're unmuted. David?
Yeah, you just have to be sure to hold it down. Former Department for Professional Employees, former Education Department, longtime associate of the notorious Tony Sarmiento, and the much more admirable Susan Washington.
All right, Susan Washington, you've been called out.
Susan Washington, a whole bunch of things at the AFLCIO.
Okay. And we should let our new secretary, Kim Farrell. Up, unmute.
Kim Farrell, also Kim Warner, worked in a lot of different places in the building. And I'm glad to see all your faces.
And who's that person next to you?
Linda Warner.
The credit union is always there for you. And I enjoyed all of the many memberships that we're so proud of.
Thank you. Ruth Rutenberg.
Hi, I'm Ruth Rutenberg. I'm a retiree from the National Labor College, and the background is the snow in Vermont.
Trudy Conrad.
I'm Trudy Conrad. People our age like to Zoom at Zoom church because they can hear and see.
Very good. Leslie.
Employee of the National Labor College for about 7 years until it closed in 2013. Then through 2014, I was both at the location before it was sold, and then downtown at AFLCIO, helping to actually finally close the college. So,
thank you, Steve Francie and Margaret Beiser. Unmute.
Steve, Steve Francie worked with the AFL-CIO and one of the industry coordinating committees for registered nurses and for the Coalition of Kaiser Permanente Unions.
And Margaret Peisert, I was with the Coalition of Kaiser Permanente Unions.
Thank you. Brother Chico.
Pete DeChico, former president of the Industrial Union Department and of the Coalition of Kaiser Unions, and most recently came out of retirement to do the Alliance of Healthcare Workers out in California. Now re-retired. This is my first meeting, and I must say, really impressed. Tony, you've done an excellent job. The speakers all did an extraordinary job. I think it was very, very well done.
Thank you. Alice, and who's that guy with the glasses? Rich.
Yeah.
Former
Alice
President
Price,
Rich Walsh.
Community Center.
Rich Walsh with Political and Organizing or Field Services Department.
Thank you. Ann Kay, AKA Jeff.
Yeah, I go under the alias of my husband who's lent me his laptop. I spent the last dozen or so years of my career at the Housing Investment Trust.
Brother Ellenberger, former president and author.
I guess I'm unmuted. So Tony, I add my admiration to you and the officers for the great job you've done on this meeting and running our association. I was an intern going way back 1972, worked in the International Affairs Department, worked for the Asian American Free Labor Institute, and worked in occupational safety and health.
Thank you, Jim. Jane.
Jane O'Grady out of the legislative department.
Was there another Jane?
Jane McDonald.
Oh, there is Jane. There's
Jane. Had many different jobs. It's so great to see everyone. And Tony and the officers, thank you so much. It's been a great meeting.
Thank you. Blaine, why don't you introduce yourself? You're not a member, but you're a key person here with reaching out to our ULICO and Zenith American members.
My name is Blaine Barham, and this week I will reach 40 years of employment with the Union Labor Life Insurance Company, ULICO. I've been there since 1980, and a few months ago I got a phone call from Ed Smith and Tony Sarmiento asking me if I would participate as a company member on this retiree association, and I was very excited to get this request, and I'm hoping that I can provide valuable input to make this the best retirement association that we can have for our working men and women of the AFL-CIO staff plan.
Thank you, Brother Blaine. Johnny 44, I don't recognize you, but.
Yeah, I'm John Small. I worked in the publications department for a few years, and I wanted to congratulate and compliment the organizers of this. This is one of the smoothest Zoom meetings I've ever been on, even though it's retirees who possibly shouldn't be this smooth. And finally, a special hello to two of my former coworkers. I see Mary Sneeden and Paul Gordon. Hello, Mary and Paul.
Oh, Mary.
Thank you. Sister Eva.
Hello, I'm Eva Walton. Worked at the AFLCIO for about 28 years between the education department, what was the COPE political department, and then ended my time in the civil rights department.
Hi, Eva.
Hi, Cheryl.
Sister Jody.
Of Kaiser Permanente Unions, and I just want to say, Tony, kudos to you, and you did it all without me. Oh, fun fact, I was Tony's deputy at Senior Service America served some time at Senior Service America.
Thank you, Jody. Stephanie.
Well, hello there, Tony and everyone else. Stephanie Turman. This year marks 40 years working, starting with HRDI and a bunch of you happy people who are on here. Then I worked with the Housing Investment Trust and the Building Investment Trust. Retired 3 years ago, but am fortunate enough to still be consulting right now with the HIT on a couple of issues. So, so many people here I have learned from and appreciate having as what I consider my family. So happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think some people might say you're failing retirement if you're still working.
But you know, it's the best way to go, especially when you're calling the shots yourself. There's nothing wrong with it.
Now I've got a Bob's Mac.
That's me, Janet. Janet Coco.
Oh, great. Janet, introduce yourself.
Janet Coco. I was officer of the Retirers Union for many years. I've been retired since 2010. Started at the AFLCIO in 1963.
That's great. Well, you gotta, Rudy, you need to follow after Janet.
Yeah.
The Zoom meeting was great. Had the opportunity to Zoom for the baptism of my 7th great grandchild. So Zoom is great. Keep it up.
And Rudy was head of the economic research department for many years and was, Janet was his boss, if I remember right.
And Rudy was a former association president.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Brother Capello, unmute.
Hi all, my name is David Coppola. I worked for the Solidarity Center for several decades. Special shout out to Tony for running a great meeting and all the other officers, and also to Tony and Susan Washington, who I run into from time to time on my rare outings to Snyder's Supermarket. Maybe I'll see you there in the next few weeks.
I need to get a better mask to run a better disguise.
Yeah, it's hard to recognize people.
Brother Richardson from Texas.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Doug Richardson. I went to work in 1978 and then 25 years on the payroll in the field and been retired 18. And basically hanging out here in the bunker in Texas trying to get, away from all the bad germs in the world. Other than that, just listening.
I like those background pictures.
Grandkids, lots of them.
Brother Moses, you doing a carpool karaoke thing right now? Unmute, unmute. Oh, can't hear you. We'll come back to you, Bob. Let's see, Joel. Joel Yudkin, can you hear me? Can you unmute? Joel's looking a little stiff there. All right, let's see. I've got someone who's tagged as Tamra. Oop.
hi, everyone. Thank you for everything. Good to see everyone. I was in the legal department many, many years.
So introduce yourself. You're not Tamara.
Tammy Hammett.
Yes.
I'm Tammy Hammett. I don't know why it says Tamara, but I mean, that's my real name.
Great. Thank you. Good seeing you in the shadows there. Bren Lees. Okay.
I've unmuted. I don't know how to bring my face up.
There you go. Say who you are.
Bren Lees. I retired 23 years ago as the Human Resource Director. How do I bring my picture up?
I don't
Click
know.
on the video on the bottom.
There's a camera at the bottom left of your screen. Click on it.
The stop video?
Yes. Click that. It should turn it on.
Okay, I'm up in the right-hand corner on my screen.
Oh, there you go. There's Brent. Great.
Retarded as far as computers go.
So if anyone has any biodegradable toilet paper, Bren will be happy to take
I have to
a
say,
donation.
Tony came through for me at the beginning of the pandemic when toilet paper was in short supply. Thank you.
Von Seal. Unmute.
Going so great.
All right.
I was 25 years in the accounting, staff retirement, and the insurance department. I've been retired 21 years.
Wow.
Amazing. Let's
Looking
see
good,
here.
Vancel.
Thank you. You too.
Brother Garbarino from Massachusetts, I think. You gonna unmute?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your sweater? You got cold.
I don't hear anything. How about there's someone, Joyce? Which mystery Joyce is this?
Did you get your picture up there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then there's a mysterious iPhone. It's like someone in a car. Brother Moses, get back to, are you?
I'm on.
All right. Introduce yourself, Bob.
Sorry about that. There's a funny car. Bob Moses. I started HRDI, then COPE, and then eventually IT for a lot of years. But I gotta commend everybody. The post-COVID, everybody learned how to use Zoom because of the virus, and now we can do this on a more regular basis. This is great. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you. We have some other mystery people whose tags are iPad 5, phone number 301-938-7716, and another 301-292-8213. You want to introduce yourselves? Of course, the question is,
This is Alfreda McAdams.
Oh, great.
I retired in 1995 after 32 years of service, and I retired as administrative assistant to the president.
Great to hear your voice, Alfreda.
Thank you.
Has Joel been able to get on? Okay, then we have a brother who's also in a car on an iPhone. That's you. Is saying something? Can you unmute? Still not hearing you, brother.
Now.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, that's somebody else.
There you go. You want to speak up? Yeah.
Is that for me now, Tony?
Yes.
Francisco.
Introduce yourself.
Okay, from Massachusetts. Yeah, I have a little difficult techniques around here because I am driving under 6 inches of snow, but but I'm glad to be in this meeting today, Tony, and very informative for me, and I can I appreciate how much work you guys doing to keep us our benefit alive for the rest of our life. And I really appreciate it. I learned a lot today, and I get to know some of the people, including you. You and I go back to the 90s in Milwaukee. But anyway, so thank you so much, and I will try to keep it. To keep involved from now on.
Great.
So I
Thank you.
appreciate it, Tony. I wish you the best for you and everybody there.
Thank you, brother. Is there anyone else who hasn't had a chance to speak who wants to give one more try?
Maybe I'm iPod 5.
Oh yeah, you're iPad 5. Who is this, please?
It's Butch Fouts.
All right, Butch. You got to change that name.
5 because Rich Walsh named that, and I think that's to make up for the fact that I'm still 6 months older than he is.
Walsh seems to be denying it, but anyways. So Butch, where are you living now?
Colonial Beach, Virginia, on the water.
All right. Great. Glad you were able to join us. And let's see.
Thank Rich for getting me on here.
Yeah, you're going to be an officer next. Anyone else who hasn't had a chance to speak? Let's see here. So before we get off, I want to thank Brother Curtis. Now this is the guy who made it all possible, Dave Curtis. He's made us all look good. So Dave, why don't you unmute and give us a grade on how we did today?
Well, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear
yes.
me? Oh, okay. Well, thank you for being a part. I was glad I was able to make it all work, and I think we all did a good job, and I think it all came over well.
You've done these Zoom calls before, I can tell.
Yeah, I've done a few.
How many do you think you've done during the election season?
Wow. Well, yeah, ever since March, the AFL has probably hosted well over a couple thousand of meetings. It's so much. So we had to actually get OPIU involved and help facilitating some of these meetings because there've been so many. But it's a way of life right now.
So Dave, I should have told you I was going to ask this, but there's some of us who saw during the coverage of some of the disturbances in Black Lives Matter Plaza that there was some damage done to the AFLCIO building, and I wonder if you could just give us a quick update on. I understand that all the repairs are done, and there's also some additional work being done in the garage. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, I was unfortunately I was able to be a part of the team that went in to repair the damage. We had like a breach at the front door. They were only able to get into the first level of the AFL-CIO, which is like a lobby area. And matter of fact, the same picture you have up as your background, they went through which was the Gompers room. They went through Gompers, and they only did damage to one of the meeting rooms, which is where we had an iPad that they ripped off the wall. But fortunately, they didn't do much damage. They did start a fire, but the sprinkler system, we probably had a little bit more water damage than actual fire damage. So the sprinkler system actually did very well. But other than that, I think
the murals weren't damaged at all, correct?
Minor damaged. We had a restoration company that came in and did a really good job in drying everything out and fixing everything, but there was no damage to the murals, either the one in the lobby or the one in Gompers.
Thank you. So Joel, are you on? You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hi. Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a family thing. So where am I? Yeah. Okay.
You've transported yourself to the Himalayas, it looks like.
No, actually that's Lake Tahoe, but where we were from our 30th anniversary about a year ago. So anyway, my backdrop, my office at home is so cluttered that so I really like what you have there, Tony. I'm still you know, I was at the public policy department for a number of years. I retired in I think that's 2006. Been doing my own little freelance consultancy on industrial policy, energy and workforce, high road strategies since then. I'm still pounding away for some reason. I'm been staying busy, although I'm trying to find a way to shed myself of all the projects I'm working on, because I really like to have a real retirement and start doing some other things. My wife and I were planning to do that a year ago. We were starting to look around, probably moving, in fact, when the COVID hit. So we've been staying put and just continuing, but hopefully we'll be in a moving in a new direction in another few months. I want to take the opportunity, since I have your all attention. I'm also the Secretary Treasurer of the National Capital Area Union Retiree Club, which has a lot of other union staff in the metro area members. And we have book club. We've usually had monthly events and so on. And we're going to have, a meeting coming up. Some of you are members. I know there's Jane. I know Tony, I think you're a member, right? And Rich Walsh and several other folks. And so we hope to, we've been going through this same process of what do we do, because we no longer can meet in person. We've had some virtual meetings, and we're going to see how it all unfolds next year. I hope we can continue going. We're a much smaller group, obviously, than this one. But I just wanted to put that out there, since I am the Secretary Treasurer. I'm going to start asking for memberships for the following year as well. And so if there's an interest at all if you're in the metro area in particular, I don't know, I guess, can I give out my email address, Tony?
Yeah, you could, well, tell you what, I'll put it in the next newsletter.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind me doing just a little bit of off-the-cuff advertising for it, but we're all part of the same thing here.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think, is there one last chance for someone who hasn't had a chance to introduce themselves? I think everyone had a chance. So with that, again, I want to thank this hardcore group. So we're down to 32. We had a peak of about 75. So our vice president, she thought we'd get into the high single digits. I think we exceeded that. We didn't reach the high, one pool member said we'll get 100. We didn't quite get 100.
Kim Farrell won with 75. She was right on,
Kim was right on, that's why she's going to be the next.
We actually had 79. We had 76 for a high, but then we have some doubles in there. So I had to add another 3 to that.
Right. So, so that's why Kim is just making her way to become the next treasurer after she's secretary, now that she's got the numbers thing going on. So before I close, and again, thank everyone for joining the meeting. If anyone has any ideas about how, what you want the association to do, I mean, we certainly want to hear your suggestions. Since Rich Walsh stuck me with this responsibility, I've been looking at the demographics in terms of our membership. And so I'll be putting a little update on that in the next newsletter. I think not just the pandemic has put some pressures on us to try to figure out how we reach out to our members. But in many ways, as some of you already said, the Zoom thing actually makes it possible for us to reach a lot of members who are not in the metropolitan area. And I think, again, as I'm sure many of us have read, the really damaging effects of being increasingly isolated because of the pandemic, particularly for older people, is pretty serious business. And in my view, if we could think of ways of reconnecting some of our members, former coworkers that we got to know pretty well, I think that would really be a good thing. So with that, anything else for the good and welfare?
I'd just like to say one thing, Tony. I want to thank you and say you did an excellent job with this meeting. I'm very impressed.
Well, Mickey, I'll send you your $20 right after we're over. Thank you.
And thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Tony, and to all the officers and everybody who helped coordinate the meeting. And thank you for asking for that update of what happened to the headquarters. That was good to hear, and that they were able to deal with that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, I think as much as some of the veterans here think that no Zoom call should be less than 3 hours, I think we should break from that pattern and just call it a day. Thanks again. See you on email.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.